Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Hello and welcome to the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube service for October 31st, 2021. Hopefully it's not too spooky of a Halloween for you. We're really glad that you're here to join us once again to hear the Buddha Dharma. Today is also the October Shotsuki service for 2021, where we will remember all those who were born into the Pure Land in October. Service order for today will be Juseige. You can find Juseige on page 57 in the Blue Denver Service Book. We'll then have a reading of the October Shotsuki names. Following that, we'll have the three treasures. You can find the three treasures on page 106 in the Blue Denver Service Book. We'll then have a Dharma talk. Thank you so much for joining us here once again at the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple. If you don't have a copy of the Blue Denver Service Book, please look in the description below and you'll find a hyperlink to the Google Drive where you can download a PDF copy of the Blue Denver Service Book. And please, do all you can to keep all those out there, including yourselves, safe, happy, and healthy. And we can't wait to see you here at the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple as we work to reopen soon. All you are always in Amida's light. Gagon chosengan hishimu jodo shingan fumanzok sefu joshongak gahomu yoko Dai se shu fusai shobingu sefu joshongak gashi jobundo myosho chojipo kukyo mishomon Seifu Joshongak Ryoku Jinshonen Joe Shubongyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Tenin Shi Jinriki Endai Ko Fusho Musaido Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaihi Chiegen Meshi Konmoan Heisoku Shoakudo Tsudan Zenshumon Koso Jomanzok Iyoro Jipo Ni 一願修十期天候不減一種解放像公正功徳法上大修十説法四子空供養一切分具足修徳本元年心上満得意三害用女分無下知自断未不詳願学為力都市最小尊心願や国家大戦の感動国書天人と珍妙形ナマナムナマナムナマナムナマナムナマナムナマナム願にしく読平等性際同本菩提心往生安楽国ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏。Hello, today is the Shotsuki service for 2021 in the month of October. Today we remember all those who were born in the Pure Land in the month of October. As I read the names, please feel free to oshoko at your home obutsudan. If there's a name that's not included on here, please keep it in your mind as you think of the causes and conditions of all those who came before us and who've passed into the Pure Land and the impacts they've had on our lives. Here are the names. Ben Matoba, Florence Nakata, Tomiko Agaki, Tosh and Mary Tawada, Shigeo Yanaru, Michio Tanawaki, Yori Teshima, Kotsuru Fukuhara, Sam Chikuma, Thomas C. Guggens, Karen Yamato, Gail D. Starr, Sam Noriyuki. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namanda Boots, 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 Namanda Boots. Please join me in Gasho for a reading of The Three Treasures, which can be found on page 106 in the Blue Denver Service Book. Three Treasures. Hard is it to be born into human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and become aware of his supreme teachings. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of his doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in the life of harmony, in the spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots. Hello. I'm now going to do the Dharma talk for the Shotsuki service for October 2021. Thank you so much for joining us once again here on Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube channel. I'm going to start the service off, the Dharma talk off with a reading from the Jodo Monrui Jusho, the Passages on the Pure Land Way. The teaching and saving activity of the Buddha and the incarnate ones was solely to bring benefits universally to all foolish beings. The vast, great mind and practice arise solely out of a desire to guide evil people who have committed grave offenses and those who wholly lack the seed of Buddhahood. Namo Amida Boots, Namo Amida Boots, Namo Amida Boots, Namanda 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 Boots. Oh, I like this quote. I have a note written here, the Buddha's wish for the world. The teaching and saving activities of the Buddha and the incarnate ones was solely to bring benefits universally to all foolish beings. The vast, great mind and practice arise solely out of a desire to guide evil people who have committed grave offenses and those who wholly lack the seed of Buddhahood. So one of the reasons I like this is because it's a universally to all foolish beings. So I want to expound on this a little bit. Being that I do a lot of work on YouTube now, and this is, we do services every week on YouTube, I have started to watch YouTube a lot more. And my wife got me hooked on a channel that's actually been around for a long time, like 14, 15 years. It was one of the early YouTube channels. And it's called Vlogbrothers. And it's a story of two guys, the Green Brothers. And they make videos. Apparently they did this to start connecting with each other deeply. They make videos to each other every week. And so one vlogs to the other and the other vlogs to them. And they share these with the world. And this week's video by Hank Green, one of the brothers, really caught my interest. And the title of the video is A Tool with No Blood on It. And this was actually in reference to something he listened to, an interview from the New York Times. So a guy named Ezra Klein, who was a Democratic political operative and helped in different campaigns. I think he was in the John Kerry campaign and some other stuff, works for the New York Times now. And he does interviews with different authors and different people, and has basically a 1-hour podcast that he does every once in a while. And this, Hank Green got this from this vlog, or this podcast. And Ezra Klein interviewed someone named Maggie Nelson. And now I'm going 3 names deep, but just follow me here. Maggie Nelson's an author. I had never heard of her before. Maybe some of you have, but she was not someone I was familiar with. But quite accomplished. She has the MacArthur Fellowship, the National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, a PhD from the City University of New York, and is an author and writes about kind of like, I would say like almost like a modern existentialist author. And part of this interview was called, "Let's Talk About the Anxiety Freedom Can Cause." And so we have this concept within this country and within kind of just humanity that freedom means I can make all the choices on my own, and I will instantly be prosperous because I am free. Oh, I'm super free, and I want to go do all these things. Except I think most of us actually like having a little bit of constraints in our lives and like being able to lead and follow and have some bounds that we can succeed within without necessarily being 100% cast away. Actually, bringing to that point, I think it's an interesting thing. If you look at the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks in it, how he ends up on this island and he's literally free. There's no things that apply to him except, existing. So that is like an example of being completely free. But Tom Hanks in Castaway doesn't want to stay on the island. He makes Wilson with the volleyball, talks to it, builds a boat, does everything he can to get off the island because he's totally free and yet alone. And so total and utter freedom is anxiety causing because you're not with anyone. So anytime 2 people have a relationship together, that reduces freedom because you have to work within a contract and a bond and an understanding and a social interaction, and that social interaction has rules around it. So if I was totally free, I could walk up to someone and be like, I'm going to punch you in the face, and walk away and not worry about the consequences, but that freedom then means I'm alone. And that anxiety is hard because the second that you twist your ankle and you're on the ground, now who's there to take care of you? And so it's the constraints of the lack of freedom which make society work. We have to relate with each other and we have to work with each other. So what Maggie Nelson said is fundamentally a world without constraints is a world of anxiety and constant work to prophylactically protect yourself from the unknown. So we look at Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway on the island, and what he does is constantly try to protect himself. He's constantly trying to build a boat. He's constantly trying to survive. Like literally his entire action is to protect himself because he is now a system of one. So this comes back to this statement that Maggie Nelson said, and it was kind of a throwaway statement in the argument, or in her interview, but it rang true with Hank Green, and it rings true with me, is people are in search of a tool with no blood on it. A tool with no blood on it. And so Hank Green described it this way, is you look at oil and gas, and being an ex-petroleum engineer myself, this struck me dear. And right now it's really easy to say oil and gas are the things that's causing global warming and it's evil and everything else, except oil and gas at the time it was first used was a tool which brought people out of hard manual labor, out of poverty, connected the world through transit. So all of a sudden we could drive from one place to another. We had rockets, we had planes, we had everything else. And so it was this beautiful tool, and the blood that is on it today is global warming and the climate crisis which we have. It is things like the giant storm which hit California this week. It is the inconsistencies and lack of equality between groups, because those that control and those that don't, those are more mobile and those that aren't. And yet this tool which allowed society to progress to its next level, which brought in the technical revolution, only because the energy revolution had already happened in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It was oil and gas which was the tool which drove us forward. However, it is now an evil that drives our next level of innovation. So that is a tool, but it has blood on it. And then we look at things like the internet. So we have things like social media, which has allowed us to all connect. I know what my friends in high school were doing. I have no idea if I would know what they were doing had social media not exist, but since it does, I know what my friends in high school are doing, and you're able to hear Buddhist services whenever you want from hundreds of different temples because social media exists and we're able to connect each other, and so that technology is amazing. However, we've seen the evils that technology drives, and things like driving kids to suicide, things like leading to depression, swinging elections, everything else. That's like an evil of social media and technology. And so thusly, it's another tool, but it has blood on it. And so that as humans, we want a tool with no blood on it. We want a fix with no evil. And that's a really, I think, impossible thing for us, because the key aspect here is, as humans, we want. As humans, we desire. And so as Buddhists, and as浄土真宗Buddhists, we take into consideration that it is our desire and our greed which causes us pain. So we desire this tool and this solution which has no blood on it, which has no pain, has no nothing else, has no suffering. But it can't exist because we're the ones creating it. However, we still strive for it, because things that are gray, things that are not black and white, are very hard for us to comprehend and bring ourselves into. So one of the things that Maggie Nelson had said in her interview with Ezra Klein was, the desire for freedom is like the desire for a piece of art that doesn't make you uncomfortable. It's empty when that art doesn't make you uncomfortable. So to be challenged by something, to be challenged by literature, or to be challenged by visual art, challenged by works and everything else, should make you vaguely uncomfortable. It should drive you out of your comfort space. And so this leads into maybe where we're at as Buddhists, where we're at as浄土真宗Buddhists. We are in a safe space. The temple is a safe space. This teaching is safe. However, it's also threatening. This is a threatening teaching. This threatens our understanding of the world. This threatens my view of myself. When you look in the mirror, it's very hard for us to look in our mirror and say, oh, I am the evil person that is spoken of in the Jodo Monri Jusho. I am the bad person. I am the person in need of liberation. I am the person in need of the Nembutsu. And so we want to think of ourselves as a tool with no blood on it, as a tool who have not caused uninterpreted causes and conditions, who have not seen and realized things that, are out of our control. And so we want to exist thinking that we are capable in ourselves and that we are the tool that can liberate ourselves. That we are the tool that can liberate ourselves. However, just like oil and gas, just like the internet, just like almost any invention, agriculture, there's an interesting story right now about the hippos in Colombia, about how hippos are vastly changing the landscape of Colombia, and they were an unintended consequence of someone that wanted to enjoy looking at hippos. Now, that person happened to be a horrible drug kingpin, but once again, the hippos are now changing what that world looks like, and we sit and look at that like, oh, that's an acute damage. However, when we look at like what we've done with the evolution of crops, corn going from a grass to this huge, amazing, sweet thing that we eat on barbecues, these are the consequences that change and shape the world around us, not necessarily for the better, but for the better for us. And so that tool, once again, is not clean. So we want to be that clean tool, and we're not. We have greed, anger, and ignorance. I am not capable of wielding myself, just me, without causing damage to others. And I know this because I got in my car and drove here, and I created a whole litany of noxious gases that are going into the environment. I turned on my phone this morning, which was charged by electricity, which is created by coal, creating an entire list of noxious gases. I'm going to eat meat today, which was brought about by the suffering and killing of animals. Those animals which are farm raised, and that farm process is not safe, and these animals which we have then changed to be more productive for us. They call it now protein farming. Not a big fan of that term myself, but. So we can't skip over the things that we have done. We can't skip over our personal desires and think of ourselves as clean. We are foolish. And because of that, we are the perfect target for the Buddha's teaching. Because the Buddha's teaching, this is the tool with no blood on it. This is the tool for us. This is the tool of perfect enlightenment. This is the Vow of Amida Buddha. And so when we look at ourselves in this skeptical light, when we look at ourselves with the skeptical eye, with the eye that realizes, no, I'm not perfect. No, I'm not the best person in the world. But rather the eye of acceptance and the eye of like internal love. To look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? Yeah, this is okay. I'm trying really hard and I'm doing really well. But that doesn't mean I'm perfect. That just means I'm me. Well, that's pretty cool. So I look at that and I embrace it. And I say, you know, I'm okay because I am the tool with blood on it, because I am the tool that causes pain and ignorance for other people, because I use the tools that cause pain for other people and violence and everything else without even my conscious knowledge of it, I am the perfect target for the vow. I am the perfect target for the Vow of Amida Buddha. And so keep that in mind as I read Buddha's wish for the world one more time. Keep in mind the causes and conditions which brought all of us together. And keep in mind the causes and conditions which will drive us forward. The changes in the world, none of which are clean, but all of which are a product of our best efforts. Please join me in Gassho. The teaching and saving activity of the Buddha and the incarnate ones was solely to bring benefits universally to all foolish beings. The vast, great mind and practice arise solely out of a desire to guide evil people who have committed grave offenses and those who wholly lack the seed of Buddhahood. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namanda 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 Buddha.